Yes, now we have a very valuable panel, and each of our panelists are experts, very valuable experts. Our topic is art, soft power, and the globe. And without further ado, I'd like to invite our moderator and panelists. Our moderator is the founder and president of Contemporary Istanbul Foundation, Ali Güreli, with a round of applause. And they just left behind a very busy season. And Han Tümertekin, architect from Han Tümertekin Design and Consultancy. Welcome. Professor Hasan Bülent Kahraman, Vice President of Işık University and Contemporary Istanbul Foundation. And Timur Savcı, Tim's group, the producer of many popular TV series. And I'd like to leave the floor to Mr. Ali Güreli.
Welcome to day 2. You'll enjoy this enthusiastic panel. I'm sure that you're all happy with what you're going to be listening to. So many of the technical issues have been dealt with by the high-level officials, including the vice president and the minister. And they came here kindly. They talked about positive and promising talks. And we have learned that all of us have to work so hard to drop the rate of inflation, but we know that for the future of the country, for the future of the world, we all need to work together. We will be discussing all these issues with the kind participation of the panelists, and I'm sure that you will enjoy what we'll be discussing. Art, Soft Power, and Globe is the title of the presentation. I know that you know the panelists, but let me kindly introduce them. Han Tümertekin, architect. He is the recipient of many of the awards when it comes to soft power. He's one of the pioneers. Professor Hasan Bülent Kahraman, the rector, the president of Işık University, and he is the deputy chair of Contemporary Istanbul and member to the executive board and the superior consultative board of Contemporary Istanbul. And Timur Savcı, the next panelist, has been known in the film industry. He has always produced new movies, but he is the producer of many of the well-known TV shows, Turkish TV shows, and Süleyman, which is the latest production that he put a signature on. So this is what we know by his achievements. So we are going to listen to what he has achieved. So speaking of contemporary art, which is produced by the young artists, is expanding across the globe, and the number of productions is increasing. The young artists are increasing their reputation, and their prices are more accessible. This is the case not only for Turkey, but also for the rest of the world. But simultaneously, for example, last week in Hong Kong, Sotheby's had an auction, and an American very popular artist, Dave Rothko, had his piece sold for $225 million. When production stops, the prices go up, but we are welcoming new artists. So art and tourism are quite intertwined, and they are supporting each other. So these are the two branches, two business lines, two sectors, honestly speaking, that support each other, but art is much more immersed in tourism when it comes to tourism investments, tourism businesses, and of course the market of art world is much more precious, and the investors have started to appreciate the place of art in a better way. So very recently, the Minister of Culture and Tourism has opened a hotel named Max Royal, and he has implemented this understanding so well. In all of the suites, he placed the pieces of Turkish and international artists, and Bernard Monet's statue was built there in two pieces. In the hotel, please excuse me for my sore throat. So Bernard Monet's statue is very well known. So the height is 20 meters. They are metal. The pieces is composed of two parts, and this statue welcomes the cruises. And so the statue is like waving hand at the Greek islands. It is a great example, and it is going to play a key role, an example to the other subsequent tourism investments. So Tersane Istanbul was also initiated in 2023, and the corporate collection building is their initiative, both in indoors, both outdoors and indoors, and inside the hotel. Contemporary art is placed all over the place. So the sector itself has two segments. So very shortly, what is soft power? Regarding the soft power, we will be listening to the professor, distinguished professor, for his national and international aspect. We will be listening to him. So there are pillars in this understanding. It has two pillars. The sustainability can be assured by the soft power. As long as the foundation of the soft power is solid, politics will be transient, it'll slow down, it would be weakened. So these three pillars should go hand in hand. Yes, contemporary art is the pioneering one, but all the other branches of art are also there. Drama, modern dance, architecture, design, music, etc. All these branches of life, all these branches of art are present, and gastronomy is also very powerful. Sports is very strong, and sports are one of the biggest parts of the soft power. So I would like to leave the microphone to Professor Hasan Bülent Kahraman. Ali, thank you very much. Welcome. It's a very difficult topic to elaborate on because of the fact that it is composed of two parts. How much time do we have? Maybe 10 minutes can be given to each and every one of you, and we'll have another round.
Birincisi yumuşak güç.
So, soft power, it's a very challenging concept which is needed by the world more than ever because the world is burning all over the place. The conditions have changed. People are now rumoring whether the Third World War would erupt or not. Actually, looking at the present situation, there are flames in the Middle East, in Russia, in Ukraine, in Africa. There's some sort of an unrest in Africa, etc. So what else is needed for the Third World War eruption? There are conflicts between the nations. So the economic power and the ammunition do not allow for this eruption. So until 1989, we had experienced Cold War, excuse me. Cold War was one of the wars, so it had different components. But anyways, this bipolar world was competing against each other. So soft power is generated by this understanding in the international relations. So this war can create violence, which threatens people, which intimidates people. So people are trying to find a way to win the war thanks to the non-military means. And this is why the nations, as Mr. Ali Gürel has explained earlier on, were trying to find a way to be competitive in different spheres, including sports, stage arts, fine arts. So back then we were living in a different world, which was analog, and digitalization and virtualization was not achieved to that extent, and we could not even conceive the extent to which the world would evolve into. So none of these were present, and Bolshoi Ballet Company and Kirov Orchestra and American and European Russian sportsmen were competing against each other. So it was the soft power was shown as a way to compete against each other. So soft power is quite attractive as a concept. Of course, without the military conflicts, we can sort out these problems. And this is the concept that made us think like that. But in essence, for their political international dominance, soft power is one of the concepts used by the nations for their political dominance. So this concept itself is softened a bit more because we do not have harsh polarization. At least this is how we accept it, and this is what we would like to believe in as the lies. So it used to be known as détente, as we would say it in French. Softening, détente, used to be the most dominant concept back then in 1970s, and this concept of détente was accepted by the USA via Kissinger's policies. They expanded towards China, and by means of President Reagan, they approximated towards Russia, and by the end of 1989, Berlin Wall collapsed, was demolished, and that marked the end of the Cold War, and we had multipolar world since then. And since then, the soft power was there to spare some space. Soft power has become a concept used by the nations to spare space for them, spare an area for them. So in the beginning of 1990s, I used to work as a consultant at the Ministry of Culture. I remember an anecdote, and we have Professor Abdülkadir. He remembers that he was the then Minister of Tourism. One day, Mr. Nejat Eczacıbaşı approached me and asked what should be done to promote Turkey, and we visited cultural department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It used to be very important. It is still important to have cultural department under the umbrella of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And as Ali Güreli said in his initial remarks, with the contributions of the kind professor, this is the point that they have achieved, which is something new. Now this particular sphere is merged under the umbrella of Ministry of Tourism and Culture. This is a de facto situation. I mean, the merger of these two spheres under the umbrella of one single ministry. So it means that culture is inseparable from tourism or vice versa. This is how we need to make our judgments accordingly. I can talk about many things on the culture-related issues, but the problem is still there. These two concepts do not complement each other. I don't know if I can use these terms. Without having an interdisciplinary approach, one cannot achieve either in tourism or in culture. This is not what societies can do or can exist. So back then, it was 1992 or 1993, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs had this cultural department, and we had this discussion, as I told you earlier on. We had discussed on an example which came true today, as Ali Güreli said. When you open CNN International, when you turn on to CNN International, you see nothing but Turkey. So when you can see that from A to Z, Turkish stance is faced against. But in cars, in ruins, Arpa Çayı River was shown, the valleys, the plateaus were shown, and the railroads were shown, the old Russian structures were shown in this Go Turkey promotional movie. And we were so surprised to see this movie in CNN International. Over a time of 30 to 35 years, this is how CNN International's broadcasting policy has been evolved into. But I see that Zeyrek tiled hammam was shown, and back then one has to put out the idea that the American cultural theory minds have separated the culture as the high culture and popular culture, but they cannot be separable. High culture era is almost complete. In 1930s, in Ivy League universities like Oxford University, Latin language was abolished to be a must course. Since then, actually, the professors marched against this understanding, and they protested this understanding at the dean's door. But today, even before the ancient Greek classicals, now we discuss a different part of culture, which involves gastronomy, etc. The most important component is contemporary art.
Cümlerle kendisini kurgulayan sinema sektörü. Bunlar böyle devam eder. Türkiye akıllı bir karar.
And also, the cinema business is also present as a component into this, and the architects were given the opportunity to construct the ambassadorial buildings of the Republic of Turkey. In Moldova, for example, I was able to show one of the examples of the Turkish architects building Turkish embassies abroad. So I'm mostly interested in contemporary art. It is not possible for contemporary art to be a soft power by itself. Of course, Rocco is sold for $200 million, and maybe people are ready to pay $800 million for art pieces, etc. And the drawings of Jean-Michel Basquiat were sold for $80 million, etc. Turkey could not reach $1 million level when it comes to contemporary art, apart from some outliers, some exceptions. 20,000, 50,000, and 100,000 is $1,000 is a threshold for Turkey in terms of having contemporary market. So Turkey cannot have this soft power as such. So apart from Istanbul contemporary convention, we don't have any other conventions other than that. So we are going to celebrate the 20th anniversary of contemporary Istanbul next year. So during my time there, I had the opportunity to observe to what extent we were influenced by the international courses. or events, incidents such as the eruption of wars in Middle East. So Istanbul, since then, has become an international financial center, and the relations with Caucasus, with Balkans, were also influenced by the eruptions. Iran used to be the hosting country, and this is how we have proceeded back then. What has to be added on top of what we have done is the state, which was intimidating for me. I would not like to have the state to take part in all of these. This is what I've written down in my Turkish policy paper when I was working at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I have defended the idea that the state should not be involved in cultural policies. That's what I have explained in my papers as my personal belief. But today's world is so much different than the world 30 years ago. And back in 1929 economic crisis, national arts endowments was supporting the American political understanding back in 1929 and 30s, and this is what should be done today. And from 35 to 1945, the poor artists of America was supported by the government, and Sir Gilbo's innovative idea can be referred to. So, as we can see it from the book, and brand new American culture was created, and since then, a brand new America was promoted to Turkey. Apart from the military bases, so I mean, let's put them aside. We can see the American soft power in the form of culture, and this is what we have been experiencing, and I hope that Turkey will continue this kind of understanding in the spheres that I have just referred to. Thank you very much, Professor.
Evet, şimdi biraz günümüze doğru geliyoruz. İçinde yaşadığımız İstanbul, dünyada giderek yükselen bir şehir olarak sanat ve kültür ve yumuşak güç yönünden.
Yes, Istanbul is attracting quite a lot of attention by developing its infrastructure and superstructure, and Istanbul's tourism is becoming much more assertive every single day. Of course, we have to reiterate the fact that we are in need of different attempts to equip the city in question in a better way, but from the perspective of soft power, we have to take into consideration the incidents that took place in recent years. In the light of all these developments, we can say that, as the minister has declared recently, he said that we're going to open the Haydarpaşa train station and Sirkeci train station in 2026, and these projects were prepared by Han, designed by Han. So these two projects are going to be very crucial for Istanbul. Han, can you please take the floor to explain about these projects? Yes, let me explain, let me clarify my position in the projects. Yes, these two areas are very big ones, so I have assumed the architectural design of some of those areas. Maybe this is why I'm here in this project. I am one of the members of the consultative board of this project. So you say that the consultative board or the advisory board is steering the project. So a kind of a scientific board was created for Sirkeci and Haydarpaşa main train stations. The unifying power of water was the motto. So the soil is not the main component, but it is the water that merges the two sides of the city. Luca Molinari has formulated this theme, and Luca was the member to the advisory board as well. So the focus of attention was attracted towards water rather than soil, which is territory. So as two main themes, I can say that these are the musts, these are the sine qua nons. So in Sirkeci, it's still continuing, and in Haydarpaşa, it's going to be initiated. So the train station functions will be continued. So for Istanbul's daily life, it's going to act as a huge input. And this is why the train stations will be utilized as the train stations as well. But their intensity goes down. In Sirkeci, it will remain the same. But in Haydarpaşa, the intensity of train transportation will be reduced, and the superstructures of the train station are composed of the office spaces of the General Directorate of Railroads, and there is a transformation in Rami barracks. But there will be cultural areas too. So we will be following up the achievements of the project, beginning from Rami library. As you know, Rami barracks were kept empty, and the barracks were partially collapsed. And as of January 2023, these barracks were transformed into a library. So it was the utilization of the library is beyond expectations. And back in the day, there were some concerns about the library. The surface area was 36,000 square meters. Of course, the number of visitors are also monitored. The behaviors of the visitors is also followed up. The number of visitors has increased so immensely. It has increased to 4 million. So if you would bring your laptop to use a library, after a few visits, you get enrolled. So they got enrolled to the library system, and they started to exchange books. So it was shown by the ministry that creating this public area in the Asian side of the city is a must, because we are living in a huge city, and as you know that all of the cultural events are mostly concentrated in the European side. So the library function will be made available in Haydarpaşa station, and the main station building will serve as the station again, and there are some archaeological ruins. So underneath the train tracks, they found Chalcedon ancient city ruins, and some protective roofs were needed to be constructed. Can I ask a question at this point? So there are two things that we lived, that we experienced. This tiled hammam was being excavated for archaeological ruins, and this excavation is quite time-consuming. And Tersane Istanbul situation was the same, and only 40% of the shipyard is open for visitors because of the presence of the architectural ruins. So how do you think that this will happen for this project? And through Karaköy, you use railroads, and between the mainland and the sea, the train station will be transformed into a library, and the archaeological park will be supported in the form of a museum, because the excavations are still going on for 10 years, and the Performance Arts Museum will be installed there. So what would be the completion rate of the project? There are silos, and there are maintenance workshops for the train cars. It's a huge area, 410 hectares of land. So different functions will be introduced. Very nice. This is why we are so enthusiastic about the project concerned. And most probably there's going to be a very interesting balance focus when it comes to the utilization of the city. Thank you very much. Yes, we will continue with Timur Savcı. We know him from the movie industry. We know him as a producer, but for 2 years he is a tourism investor. He has a hotel named Yasu, which has become very successful. So he has 2 hats. We hope that you will build more Yasus in the future. Everyone's so happy with your hotel. Yes, Timur, what would you like to tell us about what you have been doing? So the TV shows that you are producing are quite remarkable when it comes to having soft power, because millions of people are watching your TV shows. I'm so happy to have this fact, but I am sure that you would maybe catch the level of the American producers one day. But of course, when you showcase the tourism spaces in your TV shows would become more attractive. How do you think you can do that? For example, what is your viewpoint on the future of your TV shows? The Turkish TV shows are, to me, the biggest players of Turkish soft power, because in more than 150 countries, we have viewers. 172 countries is the most up-to-date figure. Actually, the scale of Turkish TV shows should not be measured economically only, because when you look at the history of Turkey, concerning the export of entertainment products, we cannot see that many examples. When you look at the history, like 10 to 15 years earlier, as Ali said, maybe that's not what we can say. By the way, we are in the same commission, in the same committee with Ali. He knows it so well. And the TV shows business does not only create economic scale. This is what we have been explaining to people as this is not an answer to your question, but I just wanted to express it by taking this opportunity, because all these events have become possible thanks to the support provided by the Ministry of Culture and Tourism. So in the countries where there's organic access, this is what you have organically achieved. You did not place ads. You did not reach these levels just by placing ads. There is an organic promotion of Turkey thanks to the TV shows. You cannot achieve this level of promotion by placing ads in these countries. So these individual initiatives were there for the internal market, honestly speaking. But over the course of time, in the subsequent years, some small sparkles were ignited, and they played a kind of a stepping stone, a cornerstone. So, Magnificent Century, the TV show, was quite remarkable on that. Here's what we've done. With the scriptwriter, Meral Okay, the late Meral Okay, 2 years before the broadcast, we were trying to find a way how to make the rest of the world watch the TV show. And we were trying to find a story to make the rest of the world watch the show. In the subsequent 2 years, together with almost the members of academia, we have tried to find a way based on the historical facts, but it's not going to be broadcasted in the form of a documentary, but you need to attain some level of popularity. So we have exerted our best efforts back then, and thanks God that's what we've achieved. The Turkish TV shows are quite remarkable when it comes to recognition and the branding of the Turkish cities, especially in the early periods. For the islands, for Istanbul, people visited those places so intensely. It was a kind of in the form of influx after watching TV shows. People came to visit the islands, the Prince Islands in Istanbul, in Africa, in the Middle East, and in the South America. These TV shows were broadcasted, have been broadcasted. So while gaining those titles, the economy was created then, and some people tried to seize the opportunities. So when you put a camera in the street, everyone comes to us, including the municipality. So they charge. So there is not a saying left like air is free or water is free. When you want to shoot a scene in a street, the municipality approaches to you to charge the street. So, for example, if you would like to set your scene in the national palaces, it is a very difficult procedure. There's a huge red tape. There's a contradiction. Maybe thanks to the Turkish TV series, there's a huge contribution to Turkish tourism, and we have increased the attention towards the historical places. But because of that, we are unable to enter into the national palaces, which are highly visited by people thanks to our TV shows. I agree with what he said. The public sector should definitely support Turkish movie industry without expecting any monetary return, because there is an indirect return created by TV shows. They see our culture, people see our culture, they learn about our gastronomy, they watch our way of life, and they watch our cities. When I travel around the world, people start to name their kids with the Turkish names. This is not the case in Arab geography. This is the case in Japan, in South America. Many people started to take Turkish language courses. So Turkish TV shows, this business itself is very influential. We are trying to make use of the venues the most efficient way. For example, Cappadocia and Istanbul are the lead actors of our TV shows. We're trying to showcase, we're trying to portray those beautiful places of Istanbul after 1940s, as the professor said. After the big crisis, America started to strategically support the artists, and Hollywood was used as the development industry. When I first visited the United States 25 years ago, I had this feeling that I had visited New York before, because we have been watching lots of Hollywood movies, that so much so that I had this feeling that this place is a familiar place when I've visited New York my first time. So, but I'm proudly saying that we have contributed to this for Turkey so much, and I believe that tourism industry has contributed a lot. No matter where you go in the world, 15 years ago, people did not have the awareness about Turkey. They did not have any idea about where Turkey is located. The people were not curious about Turkish culture. They were not curious about where Turkey is located in the world. But thanks to all these industries with their leverage, I believe that we have contributed to the recognition of the country so much. Thank you very much. We're going towards the end of our program. We can have next round, maybe. The first part of in the first part of the session, I used my committee member hat, but as the architect and as a designer, I would like to say a few more words, because when you equip the venues with the functions, they will have great design-related features. First of all, we are in Istanbul. We're nearby the shore. we're nearby the coastline. So Sirkeci area and Haydarpaşa area, these two places will be in dialogue with each other. So as a designer, this is what we have to pay attention to as the designer. So Haydarpaşa building will not be isolated from a design in Sirkeci. We need to think beyond, which is what we're doing. Secondly, as we had discussed, Iran was accepted as the host country in the past, and this is the time that I'm referring to until the end of 2016. But the place where the maintenance shops in the train station will play a very important role in organizing fairs and conventions. And these train stations, these two train stations, are offering quite useful sphere for us to portray the design.
Bir noktadaki bir binanın tasarım sorunlarını
So, of course, we're not only solving the design-related problems of the buildings only. Of course, what we lack mostly is the art venues. Will you have some venues for the artists? Yes. We are going to have the Village of Artists. In the main building, there is a transient office space used by the personnel. They will be moved to another place so that these office areas could be spared for the artists, as we're having the second round. Distinguished guests, you know everything, but there's this theory and historical knowledge. This issue is being carried over to the areas. Sophocles plays his pieces of art in Taormina Theater. That's not the reason why he wanted. It was the state that wanted him to show his plays. There's this Louvre Museum. It was not based on Napoleon's demand. The Louvre Museum was not only created to accumulate the French culture. This Louvre Museum was built to export French culture. 40 million people visit the museum. Venus of Milo became an icon. There are lots of books written on why it became an icon. Andre Milo, the then Minister of Culture, underneath his armpit, put the Mona Lisa painting. There were Concorde aircrafts. He brought these paintings to America to show to Kennedy and Jackie Kennedy. So they made the glamorous opening in the United States. So he created the iconography of Paris and French culture. My cousins, my students know Venice by every single detail. And I asked them how you learned about all that many details. They told me that there are computer games. We played lots of computer games, and this is how we've learned it. And the Italian government has been investing in computer games so much money. Last year, we visited Scotland. It was in the middle of nowhere. There was this Scottish village, and it was in the middle of the night. Somebody said, "Hoş geldiniz," which means welcome. And I asked this person, "Do you speak Turkish?" And the person said, "No, I'm Ukrainian." "How did you learn Turkish?" I asked the person, and she said that I learned it from the TV series produced by Timur. Of course, she didn't say her name, but we were in the middle of nowhere in a small village, and people said that yes, we have learned Turkish thanks to the Turkish TV shows. So this is a fact. Maybe the heavy industry was not created by Turkey, but no, that's what we are capable of doing. The Ottoman Empire did not want to strengthen any other families but the Ottoman family. If the state involvement is not there, no promotion policies can be developed. Maybe we would be interested in some artistic aspects of it, but if we would like to internationalize our efforts, if we want to portray the soft power strength, the state should provide its support in the form of R&D. Maybe this is what Turkey has learned to do. Mehmet is sitting in front of me. TAV Istanbul Airport, maybe this is what he can explain, and TAV's inputs are very precious. So this is why soft power thing that we're referred to is not the issue of today.
It has been important all throughout the world. Entertainment as a concept. I mean, you've probably seen Gladiator 2. There was the first movie, then this is the sequel. And it's like the football issue, but in an arena with gladiators. I mean, there was a time when I'd take a cab in Istanbul and they name all the football players of Galatasaray or Fenerbahçe, and I didn't know any of them. So basically, if Turkey wants some sort of dominance, and I'm using this phrase specifically, at the international arena, this path needs to be supported with the creation of high culture. And artists can create their own pieces as part of this. I mean, the USA example, if there wasn't the contribution of public works, then Barnard Newman's picture wouldn't be 12 by 6 meters. And the US then started to sell that, export that as culture. And we started to discuss these pieces with different dimensions in universities. So basically, we need to connect the two sides together. And I would also like to say that I'm very pleased that Turkey has reached a certain level without really being aware of it. I mean, the sectors worked in a way and in a smart way, and the sectors were aware, and we reached a certain level despite the lack of support, and we need to continue with that. Thank you. So coming back to our day, we'll reach the end of our panel. The Minister of Treasury and Finance, Mehmet Şimşek, talked about the strength of Turkish economy, and he said that we still have a way to go and we need to have sectors that create added value. And he said that there are plans for the future, various projects being created. So in that sense, I believe that one of the greatest contributions for added value creation is soft power. Soft power has to be a part of this because, I mean, the entire creative industry, just like the filmmaking industry, has some indirect contribution to all other sectors. So we need to improve the brand value of these creative sectors, and also we need to improve the brand value of artists on an individual basis. This is a must. If we want to have hope for the future, we need to ensure that soft power finds the right place for itself and finds the value that it requires. So we did pass our time limit a little bit. I'm very sorry. I just want to add something. When I said we went to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I said we went with Necat Eczacıbaşı. I was wrong. We went with Şakir Eczacıbaşı. And then for a very long time, I was at the Istanbul Culture and Arts Foundation doing various activities. And Gaye Olanti, an architect, had come when we were converting a building into a museum. And I said, let's bring an architect from abroad who knows art history. And he turned to me and said, you know, you're saying this, but it will look like we have no architects in Turkey and we need to import one. But look, that's not the case. When we look at Istanbul modern building, Renzo Piano came and designed the building, and it was very valuable. So thank you very